Okay.
Under the top of my desk is a button. Press it. What time is it?
2:40.
Press button again.
Oh.
Is Sandy here yet?
No. Are you sure she's coming today?
She said she would.
Well, I'll send her right out if she comes. It's
How about you
from Tucson,
acting
but maybe
subject,
she
Betty?
didn't,
Will you please act as subject, Betty?
me? Okay.
Here's something you will really enjoy. Just stand right here, Betty.
Stand?
And there's the camera.
I know. I saw it on the way in.
All right, now explain to the group how to go into an auto-hypnotic trance.
Well,
Her glasses are very nice to look at.
my husband used to use me as a demonstration subject frequently at meetings. And it was originally for induction techniques. And eventually, we both became aware that we frequently were moving at different speeds, that he would be either rushing me a little or holding me back, and so he started just telling me to go into a trance, and he'd leave me alone for a few minutes and would not utilize any sort of suggestions. And someone or other asked me one time if I could describe how it felt, and I found I can. It slows things down somewhat, and you keep rousing up a little, but it doesn't interfere all that much. And what I like to do, I like to keep my eyes open. Now, many subjects don't. My oldest daughter is a very, very good subject, and when she's been used as a demonstration subject, what she always does is she sits down, kicks off her shoes, closes her eyes, and lets her hands start raising toward her face at different speeds according to how fast she feels like doing it. And as soon as it reaches her face, she's in a very deep trance. But what I prefer to do is to keep my eyes open and look at some spot of reflected light that's somewhat irregular in shape. Sometimes I reflect the light off a piece of jewelry or something and then just wiggle it a little bit so it changes. And what you do is you don't exactly concentrate on it. What you do is you let it occupy the center of your attention in a kind of an effortless way. And then while I'm doing that, I like to run through the different sensory fields in my mind and just observe how they change. And in the visual field, the first thing I notice is that it's not quite as widespread, and the objects on the periphery of vision are blurrier, and that they tend to lose their identity. That is, you notice that maybe there's a darkish spot on the left-hand side of the visual field, but you don't immediately recognize it as a picture hanging on the wall. But if you stop and say to yourself, what is that, then you do recognize it. And then I turn my attention to the auditory field, and the same, there's always some sort of background noises, traffic noises or noises from the audience, and sometimes air conditioner or clock ticking. And the same thing is true, that they're dimmer and blurrier, and again, you don't immediately recognize it. That if you think about a certain sound and ask yourself what it is, then you do identify it. But like the car going by, birds singing outside, sometimes there aren't any today, but sometimes there are. And then I turn my attention to the sense of touch and the kinesthetic fields, and the more distant parts of the body, the sensations are again blurrier, and you have to kind of ask yourself, where is my right hand, if you want to know, and then you can tell. But there isn't that immediate knowledge of how you're standing or sitting. And then when I go back to the visual field again, this time it's quite a bit more constricted. And there's a slight change in the color values of things. It's as if the whole spectrum had moved toward the blue field a little. And not only that, but there seems to be a sort of a bluish haze hanging in the air, like you see when you are at the Grand Canyon or distant vistas of that sort. And it kind of comes and goes. And then this time when I think about the auditory field, I realize that until I start thinking about it, I'd become unaware of it. And now I hear the cars again. And then at this point, on the sensory, the kinesthetic and the touch, fields of touch, I always think of my favorite doll when I was a little girl, that jointed and strung together with interior elastic bands, and once in a while the elastic would lose its elasticity and it would have to be restrung. And it was all attached together, but it was kind of hanging limp and semi-detached. And that's somehow the way it feels. And I usually, if he tends to be working or wants to continue lecturing, I usually end up going back to the field of vision, because I've always been very much interested in vision and color vision. And at this point, it's the blue field is, that blue haze is continuous now. And then there's another rather peculiar phenomena that people and objects and things seem to have a little backlighting, as if there was a light source in the background somewhere, and there's a sort of a slightly lighted field surrounding things. I sometimes think that this is what makes less unscientifically minded people think is an aura. But they go into a trance and they get that backlighting, and they think it's around the person rather than a change in their own eyes. And they look at a person, but it doesn't occur to them to look at a filing cabinet or something and see that it has the same thing. But, it's something you can kind of play with. You can stare at it for a while and then stare at a blank wall or something, and you can sometimes get an after image of it, which is another thing that convinces me it's a phenomenon of the eye itself, of the changes in the retina, perhaps. So, anything else, Milton?
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you something that you really don't like to do, but I'd like to have you do it. Let's have you look straight ahead and see McTeer and his wife who just come in, and hear what they have to say. And respond to them.
They just told me they're living in Florida.
They're living in Florida.
Yeah.
How are they girls?
Grown up.
Grown up. How does Fred's look?
Older than she was, but who isn't?
Who wouldn't? That's right.
She looks young of her age.
All right. Now you can begin describing how to wake up.
Well, it's usually I do it a little faster because I could wake up immediately, wide awake, but it's kind of annoying to do it that way. I like to do it more slowly and to reverse the process in a way, but faster, by thinking of the different sensory fields and noticing how they change again, and the bluish haze, instead of being constant now, is fluctuating. I think it is a circulatory thing because it seems to be come and go at just about the same rate as a heartbeat would. Or maybe it's a tension phenomenon. Anyway. And the visual field is wider spread. And that's the first car I've heard go by for a while. But now I hear the cars going by. And my sensations from my arms and legs are kind of reviving, and then this time the visual field is practically normal. It just slowly becomes the usual. My hands tend to get a little cold, but not the way they used to. It used to be when I do that, my fingers would end up ice cold, but I got interested in the autogenic training. I read the book and tried out those exercises, and they include your hands and feet being warm. And I never had any real trouble after that. Well, I think
Are you fully awake?
Yeah.
Sure of that?
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much.
Okay. Sandy may have, there might be portions of the road that, between here and Tucson that are not clear yet, Milton.
Well, if she arrives, send her out immediately.
Okay, but don't count on her getting here.
All right.
There's nothing else you wanted me to...
That's all.
Okay.
And by tomorrow, perhaps this afternoon, she will have forgotten. She videotaped. As she first decided, she shifted to Sandy. How did you like that?
Yeah, that was great to see that too, and to have it on tape now.
Usually she refuses to do it.
Why?
I've been wanting her to do it for a long time. She's been refusing. I took a chance one day asking her to do it. And now in return, I'd like to have a copy of that videotape.
Good, fine. We'll try to arrange that.
I tried to get her to do it for Rossi, but she refused.